Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live with Sandra V. Kenny V is actually in the house, but he's over here. He is going to be running the questions for me tonight. Now, I think he needs some help to get started. So let's go here. And as you're coming in, please say hello and let us know where you're from. And it's almost ready. Get to the right page so he can filter these questions for me. Did you all have a good weekend? You know, when we have weekends that it makes this week go by so, it makes this week shorter, obviously, and it makes you confused and you don't really know what day of the week it is, right? Okay, I think we're ready. And there you go. Kenny V can filter those questions there for us, and he can look on screen too if he wants to. So I just want to again welcome everyone to the show. If you don't already know, my name is Sandra Van Sickle, and like I said, Kenny V is over here. Give a little wave into the camera, maybe they can. Well, there you go, just to prove it. So, like I said, he'll be filtering the questions for us. And we are here on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And our goal is to inspire, educate, and promote others within the industry who share our same vision. And like I said, I hope that all of you had a wonderful long weekend. We sure did. We had a chance to go up to the D.C. area for a wedding. Ken's nephew got married, so we visited with friends, lifelong friends that we had up there. So it's been a lot of fun. But tonight, I really just want to start diving in to what we're going to be working on. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a two-parter. The first part, I am going to show you how to make these really cute fabric pom-poms. And these fabric pom-poms, once we go through the night, you tell me how you think you can use them for embellishment. Okay, and then we'll talk about it later. I have my ideas, and obviously one of the ways is to put them on Roman shades, right? You know, all of us do Roman shades, and they can get pretty boring. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, we're just always doing, you know, creams and whites and plains, and yes, we can definitely embellish the shades by adding trims and bandings. And actually this Roman shade is kind of a combo of both of these, you know, embellishing with the little pom-poms, and I have also added a cute little banding along the bottom. And as you can see here, once we put the shade down, we only see the bottom portion with the pom-poms. We kind of planned it that way. I really thought maybe I would pop it up a little bit more, but I don't know, I like hiding it while it's up. And then, of course, as it's down, we'll see the whole banding. So you tell me what you think and give me your thoughts on it. Now, the second part of tonight, I have been working on a method of trying to eliminate those pesky pinholes. And I know I can see some of you out there, and I'll say hello to you in a minute. You know what I'm talking about. And there's different types of methods out there, and actually for years I've been racking my brain, and I've used a couple of different ways of eliminating them, and you know, they just never quite make it. So I'm going to show you that in part 2 of tonight. So let me say hello to some of you out there. I think I can see a little bit. We have Janet. Is it Janet Little? Is that who it is? Okay, Janet. Hello, Janet.
Jean Little.
Okay, Jean. Sorry. The screen part is so small. I have a hard time. Hey,
Tucker.
Joanne. It's good to have you here. And Kathy Tucker. And I see Chris O'Brien. And Robin.
Matthews.
Yeah. And then we have Rhonda. And then we have Bonnie as well. So it's great to have you all here every week, and I do appreciate all of you showing up. And if you like what we're doing tonight, please share it out. Give me some thumbs up, or You know, if you don't like it, let me know that too. Or just give me your ideas. Okay, I want to get started because I always run late and I feel bad about that. So I'm going to begin with the fabric pom-poms. I've been putting those teasers out there, and I hope that you all have liked what you've seen. Anyway, the materials that you will need for this are, let me put an overhead on here and see if I can get the right screen. So the materials that you will need for these pom-poms. Of course, you know, you want to go ahead and select the fabric that you need that will, you know, coordinate nicely to whatever you're making, right? And then you need to purchase some embroidery floss. Now this is the heavy duty kind, and I don't even recall what the exact name is, but I've used, and you'll see why I've used the heavy duty kind. You can certainly use some threads if you want to, but I wanted to color match the fabrics. And then we're going to be using some batting, just little bits of batting that are going to go inside of the pom-poms. And then I had to devise a way to keep the batting inside of my circle. And so I have these buttons that I've used for upholstery actually, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if you can see those buttons. They're little clear buttons, but if you don't have little clear buttons, you can certainly pick some that you have, but I would use the same size if you're making the pom-poms for a certain project. And you, as you see my method of making them, you might even come up with your own ideas. Maybe you want to use a little pony bead inside. I don't know. Put some thought into that as we go along tonight. Okay, and then we also need something to trace a circle, because obviously the pom-poms are made from out of circles, and I bet if you look around your sewing room, your work room, or whatever, you will find something round. If you don't, you obviously just take a square piece of fabric and fold it into fours, just like this, and then you will decide how wide you want your circle. And I think most of you know that if you start from this point and draw you a little line and then cut it out, that when you open it up, you know, you'll have your circle. But I wanted to make it easy, and so I looked around my workroom, and I happened to have this the Sela 20 gauge shape wire, and I took the top off and I used the bottom portion, and it made a perfect round circle, just the size that I needed. But in tonight's project, I actually have this old spout from one of my old Rowenta irons that I've kept, so I used this. So it depends on what size you want your pom-pom to be. Okay. All right. Let's see. So what else do we need? And then you will need some needles and thread, and you'll need a needle. I have a. I need to change my view because I think that it's hard for you to see this. I have a regular number 7 John James darner, and I have put on here the Celamine from Rolly's thread because it's waxed. And even if you don't use a waxed thread, then go ahead and you can get a cotton thread or whatever, but get that little the wax and go ahead and wax your thread, because it really allows it to slide smoothly on the fabric. Okay, and then you will also need another needle. And it does not have to be really sharp, but this is just one of those needlepoint needles or embroidery needles. It's got a really large eye on it, because we're going to be threading that with the embroidery thread. Okay, so those are your supplies, and let's just get started on this. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and, like I said, in this project, I am going to use a larger circle because I think it would be easier for you to see.
Aggie suggests, why don't you use a grommet cutter?
Yes, thank you for saying that. You can use a grommet cutter. If you want to make a pom-pom that's just a little bit smaller, by all means, do use your grommet cutter. I actually did cut one out of the size 12, and it wasn't large enough for this project, so that's why I chose this Celotape, the bottom half of it, I guess you can say. But yes, by all means. So who else is out there before I get going with the project?
Debbie.
Hey, Debbie, how are you?
And then Aggie's.
Aggie, welcome everyone.
There are no additionals.
Okay, cool. It's great to have everyone here. Like I said, share it out so others can come in. I know there are a lot of people that wanted to watch tonight, and so many times we hear, oh, I forgot. But if you share it, they'll get the notification. So, okay. So first thing that we're going to do here, and I did forget to tell you that you need a fabric marker. There's two things I forgot to tell you that you need. You need a fabric marker. You know, it can be permanent for this particular one. And then if you have one of these purple things, how many of you have these purple thing? I don't think it's thing, it's purple thing, and use it. It really can come in handy. I gotta get my camera action here, and it really does come in handy for a lot of different projects within our workroom. How many of you have one? Okay, so let me get to the right view here, and like I said, I went ahead and just used this spout. I just need to throw it away because I don't really think I use it anymore. That on my way.
You're using it now.
Well, that's true too. So it does come in handy. I guess I could keep it. And I'm going to just use this fabric marker. It is a permanent fabric marker because like I said, it doesn't really matter. And of course, you're just going to trace your circle. Make it easy. And of course, you do need scissors for this project too. And then, you know, of course, you're just going to cut it out. And like I said, I've already have one, so I don't think I need it. You don't need to watch me cut it, but just cut it out, and then you'll have your circle. And then we're just going to take, like I said, let me put the thread to the side first. I want to take my batting, just a little handful of batting for this particular circle, but and it depends again on how large your circle is. And you can just roll it a little bit. This poly batting was just something else to work with. Okay, so I got it in a little bit of ball. And then I'm going to take my clear button. Like I said, you don't have to use this type, but just kind of keep them consistent size if you're going to make more than one. And then I took the embroidery floss, and I cut 2 pieces that were about, you know, you don't need a whole lot. They are probably about 18 inches long. And then what I did was maybe I can move to a different camera so you can see it better. Okay, is this better, y'all? I'm going to come over here. And what I did was I just wanted the button to stay connected as much as possible to the batting. And I really had put some thought into this because I knew that I needed to create, and did you see what I did? I didn't finish my sentence, but I just went in and out and attached this button to the poly because I knew that whenever I got ready to put it into the shade that I needed something to hold on to, and I needed something to slide in between the seam so that I can secure it to the back. So that's what this part is for. And as I was working with the pom-poms, my button was sliding around the batting, so I thought, you know what, I just need to secure it. I need to just attach it. So there you go. So that's attached. I'm going to put it to the side. And like I said, you can make your embroidery floss, this strand, as long as you want or as short as you want. It's entirely up to you and what you want to do with it. For my project, I did hide it into the seam, so I probably could have got away with a short strand. But if you're going to put it into something, into a seam, and you want it to maybe come out another stitch, you can certainly take this floss and you can add beads to it. Say that you want it to go on a pillow, or even if I thought, and if you looked at one of the pictures I put out there, this is what I did do. I stitched it into, actually, I was just playing around with it so I could put pictures out there. I stitched it into the seam up here, and then went over to the next stitch and pulled the floss out so that it was hanging on the banding. And then we put some of the beads that I threw in the trash from the project before. So I just kind of threaded the bottom of the embroidery floss with the beads. So that's just another way to snazz it up a little bit more if you want to. So, okay, any questions so far?
No, Kathy Jackson Bryant is here, and Josie Bowman is watching also.
Okay, hey ladies, it's so good to have you here.
And Debbie, she sounds like she's only going to be here for a few minutes.
Oh, okay, Debbie. But you know you can watch the replay, and I have started putting the replays out on my YouTube channel as well, Live with Sandra V. Sometimes it's easier to go find them than try to scroll through Facebook, isn't it? So, okay. So now I'm going to go back to this view. And now that we have these two attached, we can I'll move this out of the way. We can go back to the circle that we've cut. Like I said, this one's a little bit larger. You can see this was the size. And I think it was 2 3/4 round. This is the size that I use for the Roman shade. And this one's a little bit bigger. And of course, I don't have, I can tell you how big that is if you want me to. That is about 3.5 wide, just in case. Okay. So now what you're going to do with your thread, and this is the celandine, and you can work with two strands, 3 strands, 4, whatever on this. But like I said, if you don't use a wax thread, go ahead and purchase some of that little wax in a little container and wax your thread because it makes it easier. Now I'm going to begin by, let me see if you can see this, taking my outer circle. And I'm just going to fold it down, maybe like a 1/4 inch. This is purely a little guess. These little pom-poms are not perfect. So if not perfect bothers you, then you can go in here and trace another line and fold it down just the way you would like it to be if that bothers you. Didn't bother me. Usually it would, but this case it didn't. Okay, I've got my needle threaded, and I'm going to come down about 1/8 inch, and I'm just going to go in and out with a little running stitch. And I come down about 1/8 inch because I want to create like a little header, if you will. Because once you pull this together, that little header will help close up that circle. Okay, so, and then as you go along, you just have to just find your spot. I really need to have my face real close to this to do this.
Brenda Hopkins is watching tonight, as well as Julie Coleman.
Hey, ladies. I am so glad to have you here tonight. And like I said, as soon as I finish making this pom-pom, we're going to go on, and I'm going to talk to you about how to eliminate those pinholes of light for those Roman shades. I don't know what method you all use or what method has worked for you, but I have done the little Band-Aid method before, and some people say it works for them, but it did not work for me 100%. Like I said, you can see that this can be a little fidgety here. You can put it over your finger if it works better. Be careful if you're working with a light color fabric. and you don't stick yourself. And I found that if I can get close with my stitches, maybe 1/16, 1/8 or smaller, it makes a nice small flange, nice small pleats at the top.
Are you using red fabric just in case you do stick yourself
Yeah,
on camera?
that's exactly why I'm using the red fabric. I did stick myself making them. Okay, sometimes this even the wax thread will want to knot up, but we don't want it to do that.
Terry Boozer jumped on board.
Hey, Terry, how are you doing? I'm so glad you're here tonight because I don't know if your ears were burning, but I was talking about the artisan project about an hour ago, and just let everyone who's here tonight know that we won't be here next week because it is my birthday weekend, and so we will be out of town on our annual trip. And I don't know why I have a nasty knot here, but let me see if I can get rid of it because I need to pull this. Of course, I'm going to get a nasty knot while I'm live, right? Anyway, we will not be here next week because we'll be away. But the week after, I am planning on recreating those glasses that we made for the artisan project this past year for the IWCE. Now, I don't know how many of you saw those glasses. They were fun to make. They were made similar to a cornice board. And so I am going to recreate them. I'm going to create a smaller version so that you can see it. And I will show you how I, of course, made them and covered them. So if you're interested, come back and see us in 2 weeks. Okay.
Sounds like you're going to be needing a little woodwork help.
Yes, Mr. Kenny V, you will be put to work making my glasses out of wood. I can't talk and stitch at the same time. So, how many of you know about the artisan project while we're on this subject? I know some of you do out there, obviously.
146 looks like just showed up. They all must have accumulated numbers.
They all know.
I'm teasing.
So the artisan project is a great project if you've never participated. And I think, and Terry, if you're still out there, tell us, 4 or 6 entries are chosen out of the many that do come in. And we follow a theme. There's a theme out there. So Terry, tell us what the theme is. And you submit, you follow the rules and you submit an entry. And if it's chosen, then you will go to the artisan weekend. Construction weekend. And work with the other entry winners. And then there are helpers there. And Ken and I will be there helping. Kathy Tucker usually goes. And if you're still out there, Kathy, are you going? Putting you on the spot. That wasn't nice. I apologize. And then you work on your project. It gets shipped to the IWCE, and then it goes on display. And so it's really kept a secret until then. We do give little hints as much as possible. Sorry, this is taking me longer because this thread is, even though it's wax, is bunching up on me. So, Terry, I wish I could get you on here live. How can they send in an entry? And what is the theme, if you haven't already answered that?
Or when are you going to be releasing all that information?
Well, it's already been released.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes. And it is very rewarding. I have to tell you, of course, you know that I just told you that I entered last year and was chosen. And it's, future looks bright, you got to have shades. And I did the one with the palm tree and the surfboard and the shades, the glasses. And it was fun. And I gave my treatments to the company that donated all the vinyl, because I wanted it all out of vinyl. Okay. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? You can see that it's not 100% perfect. And like I said, if that bothers you, then you go ahead and you mark it. But these are meant to be really, really fun, and they do come out really cute. And again, if I had fast forward on this, it would be great. But I was afraid if I did it too small, you wouldn't get to see it. And when I did the ones earlier, I could just weave in and out. But this one's not playing nice for some reason.
It's camera.
It's the camera. It's like, it's because
and the pressure of me watching also.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. So what do you all have on your plate this week? Go ahead and share that with us. Any questions so far?
No, Kevin just popped in.
Hey, Kevin! Now, Kevin, you were on the upholstery retreat with us, with Kim's upholstery retreat. So do you remember this fabric? Remember me picking out this bird fabric? I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun. Here, let me go here. I can come over here. You guys are probably tired. Watch me close up. Do this. I'm just going to weave in and out. Just a little running stitch.
Another one, or is it still the same one?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay.
And it's taking me longer than I had planned. I really want to get to the second portion.
And
So.
is white thread the appropriate color for that? Or is that for the camera?
It does hide. You don't see this white thread, so you can use it, or you can use a color that matches the fabric, obviously. On all of mine that I used, I used this thread. Okay, so I finally got around there. Okay.
How much you charge per palm?
Oh,
Because it looks like you're taking a little bit.
not enough. That you'd have to figure out. I knew. Did you ask that question to somebody else?
That was me.
Okay. All right. So here we're going to do. So now that I've gone all the way around, I'm just going to pull the thread. I'm going to leave my thumb inside, and this better work because we're on camera. And this is why you want a nice strong thread. And I told you we had a little wedgie there. And so let me see if I can get it. Okay. And so just put your thumb, it was supposed to slide really nice. I may have to do another one just to get it going here. What I may do is just going to go along and pull up another thread. Have any of you made any of the fabric bowls? Or how about the iPad holders from last week? Or wasn't last week, was it? Yes. Oh, where does the time go?
Away?
Yeah. Okay, hang on, you guys. I'm going to have to do some... Okay. I had to go in here and pull it where I could because this thread did knot up on me. And I can promise you the whole time that I was making these, none of them did this to me. So...
Look like little finger hats.
They do. They look like little bonnets almost. There we go. I got it. Okay, I'll just undo that little knot. Okay, so you have a little pouch. It looks like a little, like Ken said, almost like a little bonnet. And I'll trim that thread later. It's caught down in there. And then I'm going to take my batting with my button, and if it looks like if there's too much batting, you can pull a little off like that, and then just go ahead and just stuff it right down inside. And then make sure that button gets down in there.
So the button would be towards the top of the palm?
Yep. It can be, yep, I bring it to the top.
Oh, no, we're on a roll here.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can you do those any size?
Yes, you can. As big as small, as big as you want.
What about faux fur?
Oh, now that would, did Kevin ask that? Who asked that?
Yeah.
It's Kevin. How did I know that? Okay, can you see this? Let me get here. Get my camera. There you go. So you can see that the floss is coming out the top, and I'm just going to pull. I'm going to pull. If this breaks, I'm going to be upset because this. I'm sorry that my thread is causing me problems tonight.
Robin loves the idea of the faux fur, and Kevin said it'd probably be about 3-inch ones so he could throw them. And Chris O'Brien says a great idea also.
Yeah, it's funny. Leave it to Kevin to be so creative. Okay, you guys. I have to admit I'm having a little bit of trouble with my thread tonight. Of course. So I think you guys get the idea. Okay, now it's pulling. There you go. This is why you use this heavier thread, and that's why I use so many strands, because you can see I'm pulling it really tight. And usually it doesn't, you don't have to do that. Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time pulling that, but if you don't have any problems with your thread, you can just pull that nice and tight, and it will close up, and then it will close up that center, okay? And then you can trim away some of these. And I really do not know why. Okay, but I don't want to keep spending time on it because we have other things to talk about tonight. So I'm just going to trim that.
And then how do they get attached?
Okay, so like I said, once you pull it, then you will see, once you pull it tight, it will look like this. And it will close right up. And that's why, one of the reasons why you leave that little flange, I'm going to call it a little flange at the top. And see, you don't even see, you see the thread here because I couldn't pull it for some reason. But you don't see it in here. And this will close right up. And now you can insert your pom-pom into anything that you want to. Like I said, this tail, I threaded the embroidery floss and stitched it right into the flange and pulled it to the back, and was able to pull it to the back, and then added a little glue to hold it there, and was able to stitch over it with a zipper foot. Okay, so sorry it gave me fits tonight.
And Julie Coleman must have showed up a little late because you talked about the sizes of that. And
yeah.
What was the size of the piece of fabric, or what was the size of the button?
Okay, so the button, good question, Julie. And let me put them here for you. And I'll lay it here, and then I'll put the camera on it right here. Okay, so here you can see this one that I just attempted to do.
It was 3.5.
There was, yeah, it was 3.5. And what did I do with my, I don't think, and I happened to use this cone or spout from my old Rovento iron, and it is 3.5, and it made a pom-pom that was close to maybe 1 1/8 inches. This particular pom-pom, and this is the one that I put into the shade, it ended up where it's about 3/4 inches wide, and I used the bottom of this sellotape spool, and it is 2 3/4. So if that helps. Okay, good question. Good question. And then, oh, I forgot to tell you, and then the button, yep, the button that I used for all of them was, it's about 1/2 inch. And, you know, you don't even feel it in there, but it really, I think it gives it just a little bit of structure, and you just needed something to keep that thread down in there so it wouldn't pull out. Okay. I'm going to have to work on this later because I'm determined to get that right.
So if you're doing the 3-inch balls, as Kevin suggested, you probably got to have like a 8 or 9-inch piece of fabric.
Yeah, I would imagine so, Kevin. Once you try one, I would love to see that because now you really have me curious. I really think that that would be awesome. I have some fake fur around here somewhere. I have grandchildren that are trying to claim it. And there's not enough for all of them, so I don't think any of them is going to get it. It might be one of those pieces I have to hoard for the rest of my life.
Another piece?
Another piece. Our next meetup, Kev, maybe you have to claim it, I don't know. Okay, so like I said, here are those little pom-poms. Now, but I put mine into the shade. What could you use them for? You tell me. I really think that these would look cute in the corners of pillow shams, or you could even, if you have banding around a pillow, you could put them along there. How about a duvet cover? You know, anything. They would just be adorable. You can cluster them. You can use them singly. I mean, even, I don't know if some of you saw the photo, I could have gone up and down with them. And you could, if you had some kind of banding, if you wanted to, you could alternate them and then maybe do like a little cording, a crisscross cording on them on the side of a pillow. I don't know. Use your imagination and let me know. So, okay, any other questions?
Kevin mentioned that there's a 12-step fabric addiction program.
Oh, Kevin, I don't believe in those kinds of things. I don't think.
I would, for you.
Oh, thanks. Not going to happen. Okay, there you go. There's my little fabric pom-poms, and I hope to see you all make some and show me what they're like. All right. I'm going to clear this table and get ready for part 2. Okay, but I do need some of it, but not all of it here. So tell me, you know what? I didn't even use my purple thing. When I made the small ones, I didn't even use the purple thing to stuff the batting down in the circle. Okay, Kev, you going to make some? I did have fun making them, and my thread didn't bunch up when I was doing them. But you can't worry about it, can you? Okay, what are you all making out there this week? Are you on vacation this week? Did you have time away for the weekend? We are going to be, actually, Ken and I are going to be up in Pennsylvania. When?
19th, well, we're 20th.
I did 20th.
19th.
And I think that some of you are going to be up there. Robin, are we going to see you? We're going to be at the WCA chapter. And Ken is actually going to be teaching an installation class. Okay.
What?
Yeah, wood. Let me get my materials out here for the next class. Okay. All right. Here we go. I can probably come here so you can see me better. All right. How many of you out there make Roman shades? I know quite a few of you do. And just as I'm folding all this out here, what I'm going to start with my supplies for this. Anyway, I do make a lot of Roman shades. More Roman shades than anything. And I think some of you know that I give classes as well. And I do have some classes coming up. I have one September 27th and 29th. And then we have a step-up one where we're going to really go into fun things like bandings and doing fun things like this with Roman shades. And that's October 4th through 6th. And we have Kathy Tucker, if she's still here. She's going to be here the end of October, the 24th to the 27th. And she is going to be giving a 4-day class called From Design to Installation. This class is for whether you are a newbie or even if you're a veteran in the industry. And you're going to be working with actual clients. And she is going to take you literally from A to Z on a project, and you're going to be talking about forms and terms and conditions and installations and just relation between a designer and the workroom and then working with a retail client. So it is going to be in depth. So think about that, and if you want to know more information about any of the classes, you can go to livewithsandrav.com, my Facebook page. Ken is going to be teaching classes. He has the Professional Installer Training Program from October 18th and 19th, and that class is almost full. So it's a 2-day class, and then he has blind shades and shutters, how to install those in-depth class right after that from the 20th to the 21st. If you want to know more about his classes, go to installwhatsnew.com and you'll find out more. So that's some of the classes that are coming up here around here. Okay, so for this method, of course, you will need a shade that you have finished. And let me give you this. My overhead view is kind of dull. There you go. So you're going to need a shade that has blackout line on the back. Of course, we're going to be using the Forever rings, and these are, as you can tell, these are the clear rings from Safety Shade. And we're going to be using Dew Fix. This is a, let me get over here so you can see. This is a Dew Fix product that I'm going to be using, and it is a one-sided coated iron-on blackout strip. And this strip is about 3/4 inches wide. I don't know how many of you use it now, but this is what we'll be using for this project. Of course, if you have a machine that does zigzag, if you have, let me get to the right. Sorry, switching around here on you. If you have a machine that does zigzag, you will need that, or you can hand stitch. We'll need a fabric marker, of course, fabric marker, needle and thread, and the thread that you're going to need, you'll need 2 threads. One thread that you'll need is to the color that matches your face fabric. Then, of course, you can use a white or cream, the thread that matches the Dew Fix tape. You're going to need an iron. You can use a Dew Fix iron. If you don't have a Dew Fix iron, then you need a really heavy-duty steam iron so it can throw the steam. I don't have a Dew Fix. What I have is, it's this, it's a newer Rowenta iron, and it is the perfect steam. It's the boiler, throws some heavy steam, and it's the boiler type iron, so it's got a heavy-duty base. I don't know, maybe I can. I do have a couple things in the way here. Let me show you. I don't know if you can see it from here. My mic is in the way. Let me move the mic over. So, in my light's way. So you can see it's a heavy-duty iron. So, like I said, many of you may already have Dew Fix, and then you're all set. But if not, again. And I have a pressing cloth handy. We certainly didn't want to scorch. Thank you for that. We certainly don't want to scorch it if you have a different type of iron. I can't guarantee that the Dew Fix will adhere to that, but it's pretty strong, and I think if you have some really heavy heat, that it should do fine. Okay. And what else do we need? We need, of course, a grid, a quilter's grid, or even a ruler, whatever you use to mark your shade. Of course, that's what you'll need to have handy. Okay. All right. So to start this. Put that there. You are going to start with a finished shade. Fabricate your shade in the method that you fabricate. The one that I'm using here does not have any ribs. I know there are some folks out there, I think Elkhorn does ribs, but she puts her ribs in the lining in there, in the spaces as opposed to where the rings go. And I think you can still use this method. Because this is going to cover where the pinholes are. Let's see. So start with a shade that you have finished the sides, and you go ahead and press in your bottom hem, but do not stitch your bottom hem yet. Okay. And then, as you can see, I've already started this process. Let me do the overhead. I've already started the process to help us move quickly tonight. You see I already have two rows down. So what we're going to do with first is go ahead and mark for your ring placement. Now I like using a 2-inch ruler because I bring my rings in 2 inches on the side. So of course you'll use that, and this is a pretty long ruler. And then I will go ahead and start marking for my ring placement on the back of my shade. So like I said, just pretend these 2 rows aren't here yet. And you're going to mark the back of your shade. And let's see if I can put this on 30. And so of course my first mark is at, for my particular shade, this particular shade with my spacing, I'm at 4.5. And then I go up to my 12.5 mark, 20.5, and then my my 28. And I'm going to go ahead and just do my little tick lines here. Okay. And then once I do that, then I'm going to take my needle and thread, and I'm going to use the thread that matches my face. And the thread that matches my face happens to be, I'm going to use the celandine thread again. And then I forgot that I had already stitched this. So you want to secure the lining to the face. Okay, no rings at this point. So I know this is my 2-inch mark here. This is my 4.5 inch up from the bottom of my hem that I have. Let me move it up a little bit. Maybe that will help too. Okay, so make sure everything's nice and flat. From here to here is my 4.5, and from here to this point here happens to be my 2 inches. Now your spacing may be 2.5 inches, and depending on the shade that you're making and how much you want to hang down, you determine your own spacing. But as long as in between the rings, don't forget you need to adhere to the child safety standards, and your spacing has to be 8 inches or less. So of course mine's going to be 8. So
is it always 8 for you?
It is always 8 well, yes, it depends on what system I'm using. And all you have to do is, like I said, is to take a stitch. And again, I know some of you out there do something a little bit different. Some folks will, if I'm stitching like this, I'm going to do this stitch here. My strands of thread are going to be super long, and I'm going to go to this mark and do a stitch. I'm coming to this mark and I'm doing a stitch. I'm going to the next mark and I'm doing a stitch. And then I will come back and trim the threads in between, and then I will tie them off. Some of you like to just do a stitch and tie it off. Whichever you prefer. That doesn't matter. Again, I've gone ahead and stitched them, some of the others, to move along tonight. Okay, so I've adhered my face to my blackout lining. I'm just going to tie a knot. Sometimes when I tie my knot, and I do it different ways too, you can turn your thread the opposite directions just to make sure that it's nice and secure. How many of you do that? How many of you hand tie yours? Like that. Or how many of you just go in and out and then knot it? Now, I forgot to say that you can use anywhere between 4 to 6 strands, whichever you prefer. And I think it depends on what type of thread that you're using as well. But you want to secure it. Okay. So once we do that, we've marked the whole back of our shade, and we have secured the face to the lining throughout the whole shade. Okay. And remember, this doesn't exist yet. Then you are going to take the Do Fix tape that I have here.
Is there a top and bottom to that?
There sure is. Thank you for asking that. This I need to put over here, so I'm going to keep that. And you're going to take a piece of the Do Fix tape, and you're going to make the same markings on your Do Fix tape. So if my shade is finishing at 35, let's say 30 inches, then I'm going to make sure I have enough tape cut 35 inches from the bottom of my shade to the top of my shade, and then plus maybe 3 or 4 inches, enough to go onto the board. Okay? Any questions with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's no questions, but I do that one.
Okay.
How do you determine which is the top and the bottom of the tape?
That's a good question. Because with this Do Fix tape, it is adhesive. And on one side you can feel the softness, and you can tell that that's the top side. And the bottom side, I don't know if you can see it, even if I get close, you can see the little grains. That's the adhesive side. Okay, so you're going to mark on the top side. And again, you're going to mark whatever your ring placements are. So if you come 4.5 inches up, and I'm going to mark this one, if you come 4.5 inches up from the bottom of your shade for your first ring, then that's what you're going to mark on this tape. Okay, I'm going to use my grid, but you can, use your, whatever you want to use, your ruler. So I'm going to make a line here. And then if I'm going to go 8 inches up, then that is my 12.5. And then you're just going to keep going up the length of this tape and marking for the ring placement the same as you did on your shade. And I just marked the wrong side. I turned it over by accident. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. And here's 4.5. And I'm going to draw a line straight across. And then I'm going to go up to my 12.5. And again, I will keep moving up the length of this tape. Okay. And if you have 4 rows, of course you'll have 4 pieces of tape. If you have 5, you'll have 5 pieces. Okay? All right. And so now, sorry you guys, I've switched my buttons around a little bit. So now you're going to take out your sewing machine, and again, if you don't have one that zigzags, a lot of us have the home machines that zigzag. You're going to take out your home machine, or if you have a zigzag machine, and you're going to set it on a tight zigzag. And some of you may even have tackers that the tack is wide enough to go over the ring. And this is really quick because, it's almost like no matter what we do with fussing with Blackout, there's always a process. There's always something that we have, a little bit more work we have to do. Okay, so I've got a wide, let me go for it. I have like a 4.5 wide, and I've gone down to a real tight one. And I'm going to, right where I have marked, I'm going to sew a ring at each mark. Okay, and I'm only going to sew on one because I've already got one finished. So, okay, so, any questions?
In the meantime, David Pitts has showed up.
Okay, hey, David. Hey, Mary Lou. And Jackie Royce. Hey, Jackie.
And Linda is here also.
Hey, Linda. Okay, so I'm just going to put my ring down on that line, and then I'm put my presser foot down, and so you can see it. My machine is just going to zigzag over that ring to hold it down. I'm having a lot of thread trouble tonight. Okay, here my machine popped on me. Okay, so the you just zigzag on the rings at each mark. Like I said, I'm only going to do one because I'm going to run out of time. And I already have one prepared to put on there. Okay, I'm going to move this out of my way. And I'm going to bring my shade back. And I have a strip that I have already prepared ahead of time. Okay.
Sort of like the roast in the oven.
Exactly. I feel like, you know, on the cooking show, everything's kind of ready. Pull it out of the oven. Okay, so you can see here's my hem. Okay. There you go. And again, whenever I sew the rings on, you're going to sew them on to match, of course, the white of your lining. And so whenever I marked for here, I did the little line that went straight across. And now I can match that right up, right over where that little horizontal line is. Okay. And my iron is hot. And so, Mr. Ken, you can't pull it on me. So I'm going to go ahead and give that just a little bit of steam to anchor it for me. And if you have to move it quick before it dries, because once it dries, it is tough to get off of there. Okay, so that didn't go all the way down. You don't really need all of the this tape to go way down in your hem, because if you pull it right up, it's going to lay nicely over there. Then I can make sure this is nice and smooth. And as you can see, my ring matches right up with where I have made the stitch mark for my ring placement. And it doesn't look like it, but it does, because it's right here at the end. And I like this method because when doing this blackout method, my side hems only need to be about 1.5 inches. And then by the time I put my tape on, that brings my ring, the center of my ring in at the 2-inch mark. Now, if you want it smaller, you make it smaller. If you want it larger, you want your rings to come in a little bit further, you can just move them in, whatever you know you prefer. But I like the look of this for the sides, and so I'm just going to give it a nice steam.
What size is that tape? Is that tape on the side?
Yes, this tape comes in 3/4 inches, and it comes in a spool of 55 yards. And I can tell you, sewing those rings on take time. I sewed on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I sewed on 10 rings in 4 minutes. Okay, so that, you know, that is really good. So I'm just going to steam. And I'm going to make sure that everything is matching up. And I know it is. And then if you have an iron that isn't this Rowenta or isn't your Dew Fix, and you don't want it to melt or burn anything or scorch, then go ahead and definitely put down a pressing cloth. Okay, don't be afraid to do that. Okay. And so there you go. There's my new method. Tell me what you think. Try it out. I didn't get ready here. You've got to let this dry a little bit. It will settle and it will dry. And you can see here, I am pulling this, and I am yanking at this. Okay, I did pull the ring off. You don't want to do that. But what I guess what I'm getting at, it is strong, and my tape is not coming off of my lining. And this is a this one is the Trinity 3-pass. Okay, and then you'll just go ahead and finish your shade as normal. Put your hems in, put your headrail on, whatever. And I promise you, because you have already secured the face to the lining, and then you've put your rings onto here. I've held this up to all different types of light, and it is not seeping through. You're not getting the eyelashes. You're not getting the eyelashes. You know how we go when we tie and we get the little eyelashes hanging off the back. You don't have that. Your fabric, the thread is the right color on the face. And what else? I think there's other benefits, but I'm trying to think of them. Let's see. Now, I will tell you all I showed you this piece here that I sewed all the little rings on. And when I was first testing this method, I had cut for like little band-aids. I had sewn these rings on here at every inch, and I cut them in between. And you can certainly do that if you want to, because it works as well. You can cut them to where your ring is in the center, and it almost forms that little band-aid. And then you can, draw your markings, your placement markings. But when you draw your placement markings, if you're going to use this method, draw a nice vertical 1-inch line where each ring is going to go. And then on here, I have, let me see if I can get close. If you see here that I marked in a pin, just so you could see it, I have a vertical line. This way, if I had the vertical line at this edge, it's easier to line it up. Of course, you would do it in a fabric marker, not a pin, but I wanted you to see. I decided that even though I'm going to call it the Band-Aid, the tab method, worked, and it covered that pinhole of light that could come through, I didn't like the looks of the little pieces on the back. And I realized, a lot of we use the ring locks from Safety Shade, right? And I tried to get this down to be about 3/4 inch so that the Safety Shade lock would go over the top and maybe hide some of this. I just didn't like it. So I thought, you know what? I don't mind the look of this strip of Blackout on the back of my shade at all. I didn't like. I didn't mind it at all, and it was easy to do.
Can you get Blackout lining that's the same flavor?
You probably could. I would say that if you wanted to really match your lining, you could certainly use your lining, and if you're really good with like a rotary cutter, and a lot of you folks are, then go ahead and use a rotary cutter and get nice even 3/4 inch. You could go 1/2 inch if you want to. I haven't tried that, but you can use a rotary cutter and get nice straight strips and do the same thing. And
how would that adhere? Because the advantage of the Dufix is that it has an adhesive.
Exactly. I would imagine that you would have to get that little. It's the fusible tape that you would put in. People use. It's a Pellon, the fusible. I did try that in the beginning, and it was fussy. It was like that little red Pom Pom tonight. It was a little bit fussy and too much to fool with. And what I liked about this method as well is that everything was behind the Blackout, and so I'm not going to have any shadowing of these strips on there. And like I said, here's our trade-off. If we make the shade normally and we stitch everything through, we have the pinholes alike. We don't like the pinholes alike, and our clients complain, right? So we can do the Band-Aid method. Well, then the Band-Aid method is not 100%, and it really, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. Sometimes if we want to put something on the inside and it shadows through. So there's just so many reasons. So this here, even though we have the strips, I don't mind them, and I think it's a nice alternative. So like I said, what's everyone saying?
There's a lot of questions. You may just
okay. Let me ask the questions. We'll probably be running a little bit late tonight, but that's nothing new with us, right? Okay. So let me see. Everyone, let me go back. Hey Donna, you're here tonight too. And Chris, does the steam cause the holes in the tape to close up? Good question. I didn't test that because they're pretty. I could test it. Hang on. I'll test it right now. But it could. That's a good. And I'm fixing to adhere this to my table. I will have to try that. But I was afraid that this was going to shrink, and I tested it, and it didn't shrink. But I would tell everybody you're going to use this method. Test it with your iron. I've tested it with my heavy-duty steam iron. I would imagine with a do-fix iron, it would do fine as well. But if you're using a different type of iron, test it first, okay? And then, so I don't know. Love it, Gracia. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Robin. You're welcome, Chris. Okay, how did we adhere the face to the lining? What time is it? Watch the replay if you don't mind. And I did stitch it before I put the blackout strip on the back, but you probably get better if you watch the replay. Okay. Where do you get the iron-on strip tape? Okay, the iron-on strip tape, like I said, it comes from Do-Fix, and DOFIX out there. They have some really great products. And that's why, and I like it because it's 3/4 inch. I don't have to cut it.
And what was the name of that again?
It's here. Let me do the close up here real quick if I can. It's the Do-Fix. It's a 25/20 blackout lining, a one-sided coated iron-on polyester cotton tape. Okay. Okay. And Kathy said, could you use the Do-Fix iron-on tape with the threaded loops for the ring finishing of sewing on the, hang on a second. Well, hang on a second. I'm trying to see more, Kathy. Oops. It's not. Sorry, Kathy, it's not coming up for me. I can't see a question. My emojis keep popping up. I can't. Could I use an iron-on tape with the thread loops for the rings?
Instead of sewing on the rings, not sure of the name of it.
Yes.
But Rita Boland's daughter, Audrey, uses it.
You can, if it, this is blackout tape. That's the difference. I know what you're talking about. I haven't tried it, but this is blackout tape. That I don't believe is blackout tape. So you could run the risk. But here's why I bypass that. You can run the risk of the light still shining through. If your ring is stacked right on top of your stitch underneath that adheres the face to the lining, if it is stacked right on top, you could run the risk of it shining through. But let me give you one more piece of information. When you tack your face to your lining, you're just adhering the two together, and it's a bonus. It's not, well, and you should adhere it where your ring placement is going to go. But if the tacking of the face to the lining, if that is off just a tad, maybe 1/8 of an inch top or bottom of your ring, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is the placement of the rings on these tape, and that you make sure that, like mine are, 4.5 inches from the bottom, that you double check all of that before you, press it down, and that the remaining of your rings are your spacing, which 8 inches or smaller, going up the tape, that they are in a line. So if I would take my tape, I'm going to take the grid because I don't take measure, and I run this right up to the bottom of my rings, I need to make sure that I'm at 4.5 inches. That's what matters, because this is what's going to get picked up. It's the rings. So does that make sense? So if your face and your lining, that first little tack that you do, is off a little bit, say that here it's like 4 3/4, where my face and my lining are here. Doesn't really matter, as long as my ring placement is correct. That's what matters. So does that make sense? Okay. So yeah, and like Kathy, I don't know. I think it would it's the blackout thing that we're fighting here. It's that pinhole light. Light's going to find its way to see right through. So. Yeah, that's right. That it's. I can't get to that. What did that question say? Because I can't read it.
The iron-on loop tape is definitely not blackout, so will not give the same coverage. You could possibly do the blackout tape with the loop tape on top. Question mark.
Yeah, and see if this was double-sided. If Beth Hodges is out there listening, she's not. But if this was double-sided, then you could definitely take that. Or if here's the thing: is the back of that tape, is it adhesive, Kathy, or is it? I'm not going to get your name right. Audrit. Does somebody know, is the back out of that loop tape, does it have adhesive on it? Because if it does have adhesive on it, then you could take this blackout tape and you could lay it on top. It's just another little bit piece more of work, but you could stitch your face to your lining.
Yes, it is okay. Adhesive.
All right. Then you can take your face and adhere it to your lining with a little stitch. Then lay this down first, and then you can lay that tape on top of it if you want to, and steam it. Then you have layers. I have not used that, so I don't know for sure how it would work, and so I can't say 100%. But it would be worth testing, So Kathy, if you come and you bring me a piece and we'll test it, but it would be worth testing. And I guess if you did that, then you're not sewing on rings. So even though you add in the extra layer, but the time, and I don't know how much it cost, but the time to sew on to sew on the rings, it doesn't take long to sew these rings on. We just add in an extra layer, and I'm not sure how the adhesive would do and if it would adhere. So it's just something to test. So what did Chris say?
She's saying that kind of answers her question, but it's still a challenge to line up the holes.
Okay. Say that again now.
Do you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, sorry, I thought you did.
Sorry.
That answers my question.
Okay.
If the tack to face is down a bit from the pinholes in the blackout tape, then no light gets through. If the holes line up, it could be an issue. Correct.
It could be an issue. Yeah. It's not, even though that mine have been lining up, it has not been an issue. But like I said, if I know, there could be some questions. Okay, we have our lining. And what happens if it shifts a little bit, or when we put the blackout strip on there, what happens if something shifts just a little bit? Mine have not shifted, but if you're worried about that, then you can go ahead and drop that tack that secures your face to your lining. You can drop it down, but just remember, then just. How can I say this? Go ahead and get it as close if you want to, but keep the math consistent. Did that make sense? So if I'm going to drop it down 1/4 of an inch, make sure that it's all dropped down that same way. So you don't get confused as you're putting your tape on and as you're making your stitches. I think really go ahead and mark for your placements so that we don't have to think about it every single time. It's just that we're creating a habit, and if we get into the habit of marking the way we normally do, and then we know right away we're gonna mark our tape the same way, the same markings, and then just go ahead and lay it down on top. And like I said, if you want to, I made my first mark to make that horizontal line on the back of my lining as well as on the top of my tape with your fabric marker that erases. So any questions, and Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Susan. And thank you all for tuning in. I know we always run a little late, but I was excited about this. I've been testing it and holding on to it and just thinking, oh my gosh, it was like a light bulb moment. And I thought, okay, let's see if it works. And it does. I love it. Test it out there. Let me know how it works, how you like it. And, if there's any modifications we need to do, we certainly can. I haven't tested it with every single lining, every single type of blackout. Like I said, this is from United Supply. It's the Trinity 3-pass blackout lining. And I like it because it's soft. And it worked really well. And like I said, if I can pull on this now. And the only thing that might come off if I pull too hard is my ring. But you can see how it's adhering nicely. I will tell you one more thing, and then we will jump out of here. I don't particularly like putting this on top of the fabric that rolls to the back. When I was doing the tape tab method, and I had some of it was on the face of the fabric, on the edge, and some of it was on the lining. For some reason, it didn't want to adhere to the face. It didn't like the bump of the face fabric and the lining, the blackout lining. So line it up with the edge of your fabric that rolls to the back, if that makes sense. Don't try to rock it, a little bit on the face and a little bit on the lining. It just, for some reason, it didn't like it, and it wanted to pull away. So I think that, along with a really good iron, I think you're going to like the method. Again, let me know how you like it. Please give me feedback, because if it doesn't work, I'm not going to continue to use it. But I think it will. As far as testing it, it's done really well. So good luck, everybody, with it. And you're so welcome. And like I said, we've, of course, stayed late as always.
Let those folks at DoFix know how you learned about that use of that tape. Because it never hurts for them to know.
Yes, Kathy, you had to keep it secret. A couple of my close friends, and Kathy, I said, Kathy, and she's been holding on to it for me for a while now, and I appreciate that, because you don't want to put something out here if it doesn't work. You want to test it, and I'm sure, as we go along, we might find some modifications to it. But when I found out about this tape, I thought, got to try it. It makes sense. And again, I don't know if you can see the back of the shade, but I am not opposed to seeing that. It's just, it's better than the Band-Aids. And it is a time saver. So, okay, folks, we have taken up enough of your time tonight, and hope you've enjoyed it. I want to see your pom-poms out there, and I'm sorry for the problems I had. Remember, we're not going to be here next week. It's our birthday week, and we go away every year. But we will be back, because I want to talk to you all about the Artisan project coming up, and hope that you'll be interested. And again, if you saw the big blue glasses out there, shades that we made, I'm going to make a smaller version. A lot of people have asked me, how did I cover it? And so it's going to be similar to a cornice board. So I want to share that with you too. So again, thank you everyone for coming. Give me your feedback. Send me questions. I enjoy it all. All right. Have a good one. Have a good week. And we will see you all very soon.